This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the GSMC Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jeff Malanoff, and with me, as always, is Mark Souza. We're going to talk about the Alliance of American Football League that happened the first week this weekend, Saturday and Sunday games, and how do they go, and how did the fans respond? We'll talk about that. Also, the NBA, we're in post-trade deadline now, on the way to the All-Star break. That's this weekend. So we got to talk about how teams are looking with their new acquisitions, and anything else that needs to be talked about, we will be talking about. So, first things first, Alliance of American Football. The first games were, if I'm not mistaken, the Atlanta Legends versus the Orlando Apollo, and then it was the San Diego Fleet versus the San Antonio Commanders. That is a mouthful. But regardless, both games on Saturday generated roughly around 2.9 million viewers. I actually watched it on YouTube myself because I couldn't get the Orlando-Atlanta game because it was East Coast. And with that, it was I would say about 3,900 people I saw were watching both games combined on YouTube, which isn't too bad. But most of the viewers, it was on CBS, and I believe it was on the NFL Network, if I'm not mistaken, also. So there was a bunch of places you could watch the game. But anyways, those games were pretty good. There was a lot of talent there, obviously, but nothing too spectacular in my opinion. But there was it felt kind of odd. I don't know. It just felt really off to me. I think just based off no kicking, no kickoffs or anything of that nature. But the games went pretty smoothly, if you ask me.
Yeah, it's football, and I think that's why a lot of people watched. I mean,
I think it's also, I think, a morbid curiosity.
Yeah, it's the first weekend, so there's a novelty aspect to it, so we're not sure if this league can continue to get ratings like that. But if they can, that's really big because, look, man, the NFL is a $21 billion business every year. If you can shave off, I don't know, a 30th of that, you're making a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to – this league doesn't have to make billions and billions a year to be worthwhile and to be lucrative and to be fun. But hey, if they can make, I don't know, $100 million like from this season, I think that would be a big win in their book. And yeah, it's football, man. Like, if we needed any more proof that football is king in this country, there you go. This weekend, I mean, we saw the ratings beat a lot of notable NBA games.
Yes, and I think because it's in the middle of the season where games aren't being as crucial as they were later on, I think that's another reason we're in that kind of middle of the year NBA time where it's not taken as seriously as it is later on, for fans, I think.
And I'll be honest, I was in a prominent sports bar in the area, and they had they were watching 3 different events at the same time: UFC, the Thunder Rockets NBA game, and the AAF game. And it was pretty split on
which AAF game. Do you remember who it was?
I believe it was San Diego.
Okay. Yes, and there was only 2. There was actually one game that was not even that. No, that one game was one score game. Here are the scores, just to let you read. The Arizona Hotshots beat the I almost said San Antonio. The Salt Lake Stallions 38-22. That's the highest scoring game of the whole week. Birmingham Iron, with Trent Richardson, the most notable player on that, defeated the Memphis Express. I believe Memphis has Hackenberg, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Well, he got blanked 26-0. So That's Mike Singletary's first head coaching job since the 49ers, if I'm not mistaken. And then Orlando Apollo beat the Atlanta Legends 40-6. And then the lowest scoring game of the night, San Antonio Commanders defeat the San Diego Fleet 15-6.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously there's no 7 no games that had in the 7 multiplying by 7 or any of that kind of stuff, because of the fact you can't go for 1, you can only go for 2. Hence why the scores look a little more odd than usual. Like 15, usually you don't see that a lot in the NFL, nor you see 26 and so on and so forth. But looking at these scores, do you think these will be one-sided throughout the rest of the season, or do you think this is just one of those weeks in where one team was just way better than the other?
I mean, your guess is as good as mine. I have no idea. This is the first game or the first weekend, and these these players have only had about 20 to 25 days of practicing with one another. So all these teams are brand new. All the players are brand new to each other. There's no consistency. I guess we'll see, maybe a team like Orlando, maybe they just gelled a little bit quicker. So obviously I think they had the most impressive win. I mean, they blew out their opponent. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of teams that had trouble scoring at all. So,
well, there were three teams under 10 points with 1 touchdown, and 2 of them had 1 touchdown alone, and 1 had blank 0, nada. So really shows that maybe the preparation is right, maybe that's an issue, or just like we kind of predict, like if Christian Hackenberg is one of the starting quarterbacks, the talent isn't going to be amazing. I think everyone knew that, but I still have hope for this league. I hope that it becomes what my hopeful is, what I think it's going to be. I could be totally wrong on this, but it should be one of those, it should be like the G League in the NBA. 32 teams, everyone has an affiliation, and you could bring up players, bring down players, so on and so forth, and just have it during the same time.
Yeah.
But that's that's how I think it should go. If this is going to be a developmental league, it should have teams affiliated, like minor league kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But it could be also, this is all just theory.
Well, it is a developmental league, and they are branding themselves as such. So, I mean, they
were on the NFL Network. This is true.
Technically, at some point, the NFL could end up buying this league or using this league.
They're kind of like partnerships at the moment because they're using the NFL Network, and the NFL is very helpful with the American Alliance of American Football. They've been very helpful in this whole process.
Right. Because they're not directly competing with them.
Yeah, so. They don't it's not like the XFL where Vince McMahon had said he wants to compete with the NFL, which I feel like is a losing battle every which way. But when you have billions of dollars, I mean, you can invest in a football league. So good on him, I guess.
Yeah, no, this league has a chance to have some viability long term, just because that is a thought that could be a potential for this league to maintain, is to maybe they do create stronger partnerships with the NFL. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if that means there'll be a standalone league and they'll have players kind of shuffling in and out. I don't know if maybe the NFL can take this as an opportunity to get practice squad players into these teams, guys who have not had live reps in practice, guys who are just waiting for their chance. Maybe the NFL can use this to give some of those guys more exposure, more playing time, into ultimately finding their career at the highest level, which is the NFL. So it's interesting. I mean, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, we're watching 4th and 5th stringers, NFL players that would be 4th and 5th stringers playing against each other. So it's going to look a lot like NFL preseason games, like the 4th preseason game where none of the starters play. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is, and I thought that's why you're going to get scores that are kind of funky and weird and low and things like that.
And with this league, with these games that happened, I saw a lot of, in my opinion, they were plants. Do you know what I mean? Because there were, every time a play happened, some sort of exciting play or whatnot, there was a camera shot of a fan with, all the gear of that team and just going crazy and, saying, let's go first down or whatnot, which I think is, a bit like unrealistic.
Was that from one game or was that from?
Oh, I saw it in multiple games. I saw it in the San Diego, San Antonio game, and I also saw it in the what was the other game I saw it in? I saw it in the Apollo in Legends game. So I think there was also some in the Birmingham Iron game too, but
you never know. None of these cities have teams, so maybe the fans are excited.
Yeah, but it just felt.
San Antonio, don't forget, they sold out 4 games for the New Orleans Saints in the Hurricane Katrina season. So.
Granted, but this, I just felt like how the reaction to this was and how they were cheering felt a little disingenuous to me. That's my personal opinion, but I could be totally wrong on it. But it just felt like there were some guys that were just way too into it for them to be that excited about certain aspects of the game. But again, my opinion, I could be totally wrong on it, but it just felt like there were some people because they were head to toe in like San Antonio gear, if you will. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, okay. I just thought there was something suspicious about it is all.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I thought there were some things that this league can build on. I thought the Sky Judge was pretty cool. I know that's getting a lot of buzz on social media. Like
I love that name too. It's like God.
And then having the Sky Judge and being able to hear that conversation about the replays, about them going through what their decision will be and how they got there, I thought was very interesting. Fans have really had positive things to say about that. That could be something that the NFL looks at in terms of changing replay.
Absolutely.
Giving more transparency, because how many times do you watch a game where there's a replay and you're like, there's no way that's a catch. And then they come back and they say it's a catch and you're like, oh, how did they rule that? Well, if you kind of let the fans hear the explanation from the people involved in making the decision rather than just the official.
Audience?
The head referee.
Oh, I meant like because
the
viewership. They sometimes have it. They sometimes do that with the viewership on television, but not in the actual stadium.
When you watch the NFL game, it's a referee. The head ref goes, looks at the play, and then he'll come back and he'll say like, the receiver never established control, therefore it's a incomplete pass. But when you had the Sky Judge portion, it was more detailed. It was like, well, it kind of looks like there's control here, but, the ball kind of moves. And then you get a more in-depth decision because a lot of times there is a lot of nuance in a play, in a ruling that can affect the game. And as a fan of a team or just a fan of the game in general, there's more transparency, there's more detail. It's a better ruling because ultimately you can understand the position a little bit more rather than, I don't know how they could call it like that and then move on.
Right. And like this might lead to the NFL adopting the role, who knows. This is obviously to work out some kinks to it because this is a whole new concept. We've never seen really anything like this before. I mean, we've seen like the Sky Cam, but that's not even close to what they're doing with the Sky Judge. So there's a lot of kinks to work out with this, obviously, and they need to this has only been the first week. I'm expecting a lot improvement in the coming weeks throughout this season, this 10-week season. So I'm looking forward to seeing what actually happens, and maybe we can see some AAF guys get signed to the NFL and play a game in the NFL by the next season. Who knows? Yeah,
absolutely. There's going to be players that maybe they've had a chance in the NFL and maybe they get another chance by playing in this league.
Trent Richardson's probably the biggest name on that list.
Probably not him. I think his.
I just meant most notable names, because I think he's the highest draft pick in that league. Mm-hmm. But he did have the only 2 touchdowns in the game for Iron. So look at that.
Yeah,
he did have 58 yards and 23 carries.
Yeah, I saw a lot of Trent Richardson memes, not exactly positive about him. But
he's always
be honest, I didn't watch any of his game. I only saw some of the highlights.
Mm-hmm. And, it's one of those things where you see, remember those big memes of him missing gigantic holes and just not having the greatest football IQ. That's what everyone thought of him. So that's always going to follow him, though. I think regardless, even if he gets the NFL, that's going to follow him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's something to this league. I do like it because it is in the off season of the NFL, so people who like watching football, okay, I'll watch football, and okay, maybe I like this player. Oh, this guy, what's his name? Okay, yeah, that was a nice run. Oh, he got signed he got signed by the Houston Texans. That's cool. I want to like kind of follow his path, you know.
Wish him luck, and kind of it's like rooting for the underdog in theory.
Yeah, and if one of these guys gets signed to a team who's participating in the Hard Knock series, like that's another cool angle that the NFL can take advantage of. You know, it's kind of like Ultimate Fighter in the UFC. Like that's a very popular show for the UFC because it's a direct line of like somebody becoming a superstar by just participating in, you know, an amateur
getting an
contest.
opportunity.
Yeah, this amateur event, and that's how. You know, people who love the UFC
would you call this an amateur event? I mean, it's
professional. It's professional football. They're
getting
paid.
You can understand like how it can be looked at as like semi-pro or
right. They're getting paid.
Amateur.
It's professional football, but it's not at the highest level. So it is what it is.
I mean, what is it? 3-year contracts, $250,000 non-guaranteed. Mm-hmm. So they're not playing for much. I don't know what is that on average. If I do the math,
80,000.
Yeah.
It's not bad for about 3 months.
Yeah,
if you think about it,
$250 a year. Yeah, making $80,000 in.
They're only
months.
playing what 10, 11 games.
Yeah, but you gotta be budgetary with your choices in that fact. But
not bad for half the year getting $80,000. You know, you can make pretty much minimum wage for the other half of the year, and you're going to be easily over 6 figures.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of opportunities for these players, and I wish them all. I think we all wish them all the best of luck, and we just hope there's like. I think eventually there's going to be just one player that's going to shine throughout everything. He's going to be a big commodity when it comes to free agency or anything of that nature. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how everything turns out, but this league has tons of upside. That's the main thing here.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else we want to add about the I can't say this name right. Alliance of American Football.
Last thing is, it looks like they're a little bit more lenient in their rules regarding quarterback hits.
Oh, you saw that? You mean the guy that almost had his life ended? That was a brutal hit. Every time
would have been a 15-yarder in the NFL.
That was like an NFL blitz hit. Like, you know when the guy gets his helmet just flies off him? Like, I haven't seen that in a long time where a guy gets helmet. It literally
Tom Brady would have got hit like that. That
$100,000 fine.
That NFL player Roger Goodell would have went onto the field with a guillotine and ended that guy's life. I mean, that's it. That's
no. He would have been arrested. He would have been arrested by police or something like that. Like, it was. I can't explain how. Like, I'm looking at this play right now. It's one of the most brutal hits you will ever see. Mm-hmm. And it was a pretty clean hit, all things considered. Like, it was kind of helmet to helmet, but it wasn't like he was trying to kill him, you know? It was like pretty routine, like wrap tackle. So I think the only thing was like he got under the chin, and that's how the helmet flew off. But other than that, like the guy was fine. He got right back up. So I don't like. Would you call that a clean hit, or would you just call it like? How would you describe? Would you call that a dirty hit or no? I don't see it as a dirty hit.
I think it was a good hit.
Yeah. But that's like the issue with the NFL now is like you can't even put your full body weight on the guy, and that caused someone to tear the ACL because he didn't want to get the penalty. Like, you know what I mean? There's been a lot of question marks about what's a hit in the NFL now. So hopefully they look at that and go, he was fine. There's no injuries there, and maybe there'll be a little more leeway next season. But I don't think there's going to be any more leeway. I think it's going to be more stricter than anything else.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. But anything else you want to add?
Nope.
I don't even know what the quarterback's name was in that, to be completely honest with you. Hate to say it, but we'll find out more about these guys as the weeks progress. But we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk about the trade deadline aftermath of the NBA and how each team's doing and how the 76ers are going to be. And maybe they're going to be better than everyone else thought they were going to be after this deadline. But we'll be right back right after this.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines. They got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. Just finished talking about the Alliance of American Football. Doesn't really roll off the tongue now, does it?
Nope.
Yeah. I understand. Like, just say Alliance, American Alliance Football.
Still sounds clunky.
Well, it's like National Football League. I think it just... I was talking to my dad about this. He's like, it rolls off the tongue because you've heard it for so long. I think once we've heard it for an extended period of time, like if it goes for 5-10 years... it'll be easier to, like, just roll off the tongue.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyways, we got some NBA to talk about because we are in the post-trade deadline of the season. And I think the main talk about the trade deadline was how good the Sixers got off their 5. Because right off the bat on Friday, they defeated the very good Denver Nuggets 117-110. And right off the bat, this team just looks good. Tobias Harris, his first game, his game in the Nuggets game, 14 points, 8 rebounds, a contributor. And this team just seems like this 5 seems to be very good. J.J. Redick's doing good, Embiid's doing good, Simmons is doing good, Butler's improving. It's like this team looks like the team to be in the East right now.
Yeah, I don't think there's a team in the East that can match them in the starting 5. They may or may not be the best team in the East, but one thing's for sure, they have the best starting lineup.
Oh, yeah. And that's why I mentioned, like, this team is very good. And
this team is long. This team can defend. This team can run. J.J. Redick gives them the shooting to kind of...
He had 34 points against a very good defensive team in the Nuggets. Like, this team is impressing me more and more.
And he's going to get a lot of looks because Harris and Butler can shoot it too. And Embiid is a handful inside, and Ben Simmons is a matchup nightmare because of how big he is for opposing point guards.
Yeah, like this team is suited for the playoffs.
Oh yeah. They had a good weekend,
and then they beat the Lakers so badly. Magic Johnson walked off the court before the game ended.
Yeah, 143-120.
When you make like a guy that's running the team leave the game before it ends, you did something right.
Yeah, I think Magic Johnson might have just been tired of answering questions because he did speak extensively about the Anthony Davis negotiations.
Yeah, that didn't go so well, did it?
He had some interesting comments on that. I think that's a bigger story in itself regarding the Lakers. But back to the Sixers before we leave this topic. Yeah, this team definitely has gotten better. I think if they're able to keep this starting 5 together, this will probably be the team to beat in the East next year. They might be the team to beat in the East this year. It's hard to say that they're not. Yes, Milwaukee. Yes, Toronto.
Even Indiana's ahead of them because they're on a 5-game winning streak themselves.
Yeah, but I think all things being equal, in terms of what will be at the end of the season, I think Philadelphia is probably the best team in the East. Maybe not, but man, they're going to be tough.
I'm going to be honest with you. If they move up to like second or even first, it would not surprise me of how good this starting 5 is. Mm-hmm. Like they're only like five games behind first place with the 41-win Bucks and 41-win Raptors. So it is possible. It's not like they're way off. This momentum can turn them into the right direction after the All-Star break. And plus,
home court would be huge for this team.
Absolutely, definitely. And just the addition of Tobias Harris has just been a notable addition, Like, it was just an immediate impact.
Oh, yeah, he's been having a great season. Mm-hmm. He's a really good NBA player that probably doesn't get as much respect as he should. Mm-hmm. But with him on this team, I mean, they had a good wing in Butler. Now they have two. Tobias Harris is also big enough that he could play the 4. They have a lot of flexibility in the matchups they can do.
And I think that's what makes them the most dangerous. Their flexibility.
Them getting Boban Marjanovic off the bench, he was also in that trade with the Clippers. He's a 7'3" guy who he can't play in all lineups. He can't play against everybody, but he's another niche type of player that can make them dangerous because he's got nice handles for a big man. Like, he has a soft touch around the basket.
He did have 10 points against the Lakers, so he did.
He's got a soft touch around the basket, and he's noticeably the biggest man on the court. I mean, he's just a huge monster.
My only issue with his play against the Lakers, he only had 1 rebound, and when you're that tall, you should be getting 15.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just my opinion on that. But looking at the Lakers against them in that blowout, you can look on a bright side of Kuzma with another 39-point performance. He's still playing really well, all things considered. And James,
Kuzma had 37 early in that game too.
Yeah, and LeBron James, 18, 10, and 9, not LeBron James numbers.
Yeah, he only took 16 shots. But yeah, I mean, 18, 10, 9. That's I guess it's really good for most everybody else.
But LeBron James is on a higher pedestal.
Yeah.
So that's why I say it's not really LeBron James numbers. But
I don't know about Reggie Bullock, though. Getting a start, he just got traded 2 points in 31 minutes.
Yeah,
and they got him for his shooting.
Yeah. Not the best to start. And then JaVale McGee gets 21 and 13. And good performance by him. But the bottom line is, they lost out on this trade deadline. I think they were the biggest losers when it came down to the trade deadline itself. Just not just based on Anthony Davis, but who they traded for and who they got rid of. Getting rid of Zubac was not a smart move, in my opinion, in that trade to the Clippers. But I don't know. The Clippers are, I think, in a better position than the Lakers are right now. I hate to say it. I know that's controversial. I know that's they tanked the season after getting rid of Harris, but I don't know. The Lakers are looking pretty bad right now.
Well, I mean, they had a really good win against the Celtics. I wouldn't say that. I think the Lakers are going to make the playoffs for sure. I mean, there's going to be bumps in the road, but as long as LeBron stays healthy, they'll be fine. Yeah, they probably won't be a top 5, 6
question mark as well, though.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but he looks healthy. I mean, he looks fine.
Yeah, but his first major setback was this year, so anything could happen.
Sure.
But then you look at, but the Celtics aren't having a great of a run either because they did blow a 28-point lead against the Clippers where they got booed out of their own building.
Yeah, no, the Celtics are having their own problems, but beating Boston on the road during this road stand is a good win for the Lakers. Anytime you can beat a good team.
A win's a win. I won't take that away from them.
And yeah, they got blown out last night or yesterday during the day against Philadelphia, but that score I don't think was really reflective. The Lakers were in that game. It was a close game until the fourth quarter. The Sixers pulled away because they're better and they're at home. But I don't know. At the end of the day, 143 points, it looks bad. But Philly's got a lot of fire.
Well, 140 points is actually kind of common now in the NBA. I'm not looking at the score itself. I'm looking at the comparison 120 to 143, the 23-point deficit they were in. But I understand what you're saying. And they do play tomorrow against a very weak Atlanta Hawks team. So that if they lose that game, then I'm like, something's off here. Something's wrong here at the moment, and they need to fix it quick.
Yeah, so Magic Johnson was commenting about the Anthony Davis trade discussions and said that he didn't believe that the Pelicans acted in good faith. He didn't believe that they were serious about trading Anthony Davis and that, a little bit disrespectful, I guess, what he was insinuating. I tend to kind of agree with him if that's the case. It kind of felt like the Pelicans, at the end of the day, weren't serious about trading Davis. Maybe not. Maybe that's not true, but that's what he had to say. He talked about his team, getting back and being professionals and moving on. And Kyle Kuzma said the same stuff after the game. So we'll see how the Lakers respond now that this is behind them.
Yes, and speaking of Anthony Davis, his first game back from this whole trade deadline debacle, he was received with a booze. A lot of booze, actually. And which I predicted. I don't think anyone was surprised the fact that he got booed a lot in his return. And yet he had a 32-point game in 3 quarters alone. He didn't play at all in the fourth.
Mm-hmm.
And this makes me wonder, is this going to be the trend throughout the rest of the season? Is he not going to play like...
Yeah, they already mentioned that he's not going to be playing that much. 25 minutes, like that's what you can expect.
But missing an entire fourth quarter, that's interesting to me. I thought they were going to split it up among the entire game, not just play 3 quarters and be done. It
was also his first game back from injury, so we don't know if that's exactly going to be, I guess, what his role is. He played 34 minutes the next night, so he played a back-to-back, and he played 34 minutes the second night of a back-to-back, so we'll see.
Yeah, there's still a lot of question marks about Anthony Davis at the moment and his relationship with the Pelicans. So we'll see how all that goes, but it seems to me this is going to end in a very bitter divorce. That's just what...
Yeah, probably.
That looks like it's what it's going to lead to. That's unfortunate because of the fact he started with this team. He was the number 1 overall pick to this team. So it's unfortunate when you see this kind of thing happen because there's bitterness on both sides at the moment in this.
Yeah, and I think the Pelicans are one of the worst ran teams in the NBA, and that's what's going to happen when you have an organization that's ran poorly. When your star players don't really have faith or trust that you can build a team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like the Pelicans, yes, they have made the playoffs with Anthony Davis, but what he was able to do and get them in the playoffs, I always thought it was very LeBron-esque. Like he's carrying a very, very bad basketball team to the playoffs.
Yeah, you can only do so much.
Yeah.
And it's not his fault. It just he has a very, like you were saying, he has a very bad cast around him.
Yep.
And he can't win like that. LeBron can win like that. And you know what surprised me the most is how much the Bucks needed Giannis because they played the Magic on Saturday and got killed 20 points, 103 to 83. They only scored 83 points. In the modern NBA, that's incredibly low. Any NBA, that's incredibly low.
That's called like a first half if you're the Warriors,
Yeah, true. But is this a sign of like how desperately they need Giannis in like every game or every crucial game?
Yeah, I'd say it's I mean, I would say for sure that it is indicative of how big,
nice word,
how big Giannis is for their team, right? Like he's arguably the MVP this year. He's arguably the best player in the NBA right now.
Mm-hmm. If he doesn't get MVP and that goes to Harden, which I understand, I think like if you put it like an Eastern MVP, he is the Eastern Conference MVP.
Yeah, for sure, definitely in the conversation. He's having a great year. He's showing everybody how good he is, how valuable he is to his team. The fact that the Bucks, man, they have the best record in the NBA. Like, ain't that something?
That's incredible. And you know what's funny? I was actually I follow this new found this new account on Instagram called Freezing Cold Takes. If you want to follow them, it's basically old tweets from years and years ago about how people are doing, or their potential. And there was one based in 2013 says, Giannis is 1 to 2 years away from playing minutes on an NBA team that's a very expensive D-League player. So, obviously, that didn't come to fruition because now he's considered the best player in the NBA.
Yep.
And it's just like, it's funny just, if you want to check these out, they're gold. Freezing Cold Takes on Instagram. They're great. Just based off, like, just what you see. And it's truly remarkable what you see on here. And it's pure gold. That's it.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Celtics. Are they in trouble? I mean, we talked about them losing to the Lakers. They lost to the Clippers, who, I mean, let's be honest, the Clippers seem like they're not in the business of trying to win games. They got booed out of
their own building after that game against the Clippers, which makes you feel like some fans are getting a little tired of all this nonsense with Kyrie and just this team seems like it's slowly disintegrating, doesn't it? Like a little bit. Like just
it definitely seems like they just cannot move in the right direction. They're 35 and 21.
Is it chemistry that worries you? Because that kind of worries me. The chemistry, it seems like this team is splitting apart.
Yeah, I don't know. They're in a weird spot because
It's just like this team should be
feel
the
like-
best team in the
I
East.
feel like they're a deep team, but their best players aren't good enough. Like they definitely needed to trade in some of those good depth players for a couple of elite players. Like I really feel like that because when
they're going to make a move on Anthony Davis this summer, which might be their best case scenario.
Yeah, but if that happens, that would literally mean that they're going to have to
gut the team.
Yeah, they're going to have to do a Lakers type trade offer where they're going to have to give up probably.
And we don't even know if Kyrie's going to be there next season.
They'll have to give up a guy like Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum.
Oh, they will have to get rid of both of them. That is that
Plus
in a trade.
Jaylen Brown, plus
probably a couple first-round picks too.
Yeah, and the fact is that they don't really have any money to spend. If Kyrie walks, if he leaves, that team is gutted, like completely.
And then it's just Davis, and Davis is back to where he would be with the Pelicans.
And if they lose Kyrie, they will not have the money to go sign another free agent to replace him.
So that's a serious issue with the Celtics. It's so weird how, like, I heard someone say in the beginning of the season, some people even said this team could win 67 games. And I was like, oh, it's not too far off.
It was Bill Simmons who said that.
Yeah, and I was at the point where I was like, okay, I can see that. That's actually logical.
Well, last year they won a ton of basketball games and they didn't have Kyrie or Gordon Hayward.
That's what I meant. Like, this team looked to be the team of the future, and now this team looks to be in the gutter by, like, what, 3 years from now? Is that they might be in the gutter 3 years from now.
I wouldn't say in the gutter, but
they would be in trouble 3 years from now.
I mean, they're
I'm not saying
one
it's
of
a
the top 5 teams in the East.
I'm not saying it's a foregone
team.
conclusion, but this team, well, they have still some good players on that team, but
and they're a very young team still.
Yeah, and if Kyrie's gone, if Kyrie leaves, I know there's a lot of positives there, but I just feel like this team is slowly getting worse and worse as the years go on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
They're going down before, not going up. In my opinion,
I see what you're saying. I don't really agree because they did like 2 years ago. Even last year, I'd say that they had maybe the best outlook for like the next 5 years. Like the best 5-year window was upcoming because of all the picks they accumulated, because of all the young talent they've accumulated. But now they're kind of in a position, and this happens in the NBA, where your highest paid players are not good enough. And in their case, it's not their fault. Gordon Hayward's injury has crushed the potential of this team. He has to be back to an all-star caliber player, or simply this team will not win an NBA championship. It's just that simple, because they can't move his contract and they can't go sign another guy. So this year is a recovery year for him. If he shows by the end of the season that he's still on that trajectory of being an all-star caliber player, I think all is well. But if he can't and Kyrie opts out, this team maybe takes a step back, but they definitely don't take a step forward. And not taking a step forward right now is middle of the playoff picture in the East. So I don't know what their future holds. But yeah, as of right now, they don't have the greatest outlook. But at the same time, what is Toronto if Kawhi Leonard opts out?
This is true, but like we said, this team, the Raptors team is on a whole. Like, I feel like they're a lot deeper, in my opinion. I feel like they're
Then Boston. I don't know about that. Boston's got maybe the deepest team in the NBA.
I would say so, but I'm not taking anything from the Raptors. It's like sometimes when Kawhi's gone, they're still winning games. This team is still a contender. This team has just a lot of good chemistry together. These guys have been, like, besides Gasol and Kawhi, and I know they lost Rosen and they lost a couple of other guys, but a majority of that team's been with each other for an extended period of time. And I think that benefits in the long run.
Yeah, no, they're a good team. Both these teams are well coached. Both these teams have a lot of talent. But if Toronto loses Kawhi Leonard and they don't replace him with another caliber player, I don't know. Like, they'll still be a good team in the East, but they'll be considerably worse. You know, like we'll see what happens. But Boston and Toronto are both kind of looking at next year
and looking at the Celtics' next picks. The only thing that could change for, like, them is like if the Kings don't make the playoffs and they get the top, their Kings draft pick is the top 1 protected pick. So the Kings need to be the first overall pick to keep that pick. Then they have the Memphis's protected top 8 pick and the Clippers' top 14 picks. They're not getting a lot of high draft picks, but they're still getting a lot of draft picks when it comes to the draft next season. And also they're getting 2 more protected picks from the Grizzlies in Los Angeles next season. So they're getting 3 picks.
Which team are you talking about right now?
The Celtics.
Yes.
They're getting 4 picks in 2019, 3 picks in 2020, and 2 picks in 2021. If they're protected top 14.
They're going to keep, and they draft really well.
Mm-hmm. But I don't see them taking the Grizzlies picks because I can see Grizzlies in the top 6 or top 8 in the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
So
but then those picks get rolled over.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll eventually come to fruition. I mean, it might take longer, but when there's a protection, it just will get rolled over. Like, they won't. They might not get it this year, but they'll get years following.
Trading in NBA for draft picks is kind of confusing when you look at it. It's like, gosh, you just don't know when it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it could happen like 10 years from now for all we know. Like, I know obviously not, but
Kyrie Irving is hurt. He's day-to-day. He has a knee strain. So that's another, I guess, thing to add on top of this.
He's had knee problems for a long time, too. Right? I'm thinking of the right guy.
Danny Ainge recently said that he made some comments talking about how confident he is that Kyrie will sign this summer and stay in Boston.
That's to be determined for me.
Yeah,
I gotta see it.
He was very confident, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm still hesitant in my opinion because it seems like other places seem to be like what he said to LeBron really made me think his time in Boston's limited.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since that phone call to LeBron, they've been on kind of a slump, haven't they? Like that's like their means to an end at the moment.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
I know it was just a bad sign of things to come.
I mean, the Celtics are 7-3 in their last 10. Like they're not playing terribly.
Yeah, but this team has a lot of question marks in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
There's still a lot of things to think about. This team shouldn't be a doubtful team when it comes to like.
And they're basically one Rondo miss shot at the buzzer for being 8-2. I mean,
granted,
I feel like you're being a little bit too critical with them right now because yes. Maybe they're not on a 67-game winning season, but they're still a good team, and they've been good lately. So
yeah, I just this gut feeling I have. This seems like something's about to break down there.
I don't think they're a top 3 team in the East, so they're not going to make the finals for me.
Yeah, and I think that is also a big downhill because we all said that was almost destiny, right?
I mean. You know, there's other good teams. It wasn't like the Warriors. Like if the Warriors were struggling right now, I'd be shocked. But no, I mean, we knew Toronto was going to be good. We knew Milwaukee was going to be good. Heck, we kind of figured the Sixers were going to be good, and that was before they made the Jimmy Butler and the Tobias Harris trade. So,
yeah, and then there was also this thing what Marcus Morris said about the Celtics. They haven't had fun in a long time after the loss to the Clippers, and that's a problem. Like I know they're still winning games here and there, but it's like if you haven't had fun in a long time, like if you're not enjoying who you're playing with in that situation, that's not.
Well, they have too many mouths to feed. That's what I was saying earlier. They do need to trade in some of these young players for more established star players like Anthony Davis, for example, because they have guys that are not playing that much. They get disgruntled. They're getting 10 minutes. They should be getting 25 on another team. They're just. There's a lot of mouths to feed is basically what's going on.
And it's not about their style of play or how they're playing. It's just like their attitude feels off.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I feel like you need to have a good attitude in order. And I see you obviously saying they're not going to make the finals, and I agree with you. There's just a lot of question marks on this team, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. We should probably go to a break.
Sure. When we come back, we'll talk about some other things that have happened in the world of sports. I mean...
Yeah, we have more basketball news. Also, UFC 234.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Phil Mickelson, what he did this weekend.
What he can still do.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's still to be determined.
Mm-hmm. All right, we'll do that when we return.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA, from the UFC to extreme cage fighting. They got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back, everyone, to the GSMC Sports Podcast. We're finishing up some NBA talks. We just finished talking about Celtics and 76ers, a lot of Eastern Conference stuff, basically. But one thing has remained the same, and the Warriors are still winning.
This is true.
So no matter how you feel about the team or Kevin Durant or whatever the other situation is, 76ers are still the elite team. Even if they are not the best record in the NBA, they're still the best team in the NBA, in my opinion.
Is that the Warriors?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's arguable at this point. But
yeah.
What about the Thunder Rockets game? That was a marquee game of the weekend on Saturday night.
Triple-double versus Mr. Triple-double versus Mr. 30-point streak, basically.
Yep.
And how that all went, well, this was this weekend, and the Thunder did win this one.
Thunder were down big, and they came roaring back.
Yes. And did Harden's streak continue? Yes, because he had 42 points. But Paul George outdid him in going for a bid for MVP by making 45 points and 11 rebounds. Pretty spectacular double-double. But then Russell Westbrook has also a triple-double himself, 21, 12, and 11. So, obviously, these two guys are pushing this team to victory in this stance. I mean, other guys are playing good, like Schroeder off the bench at 17 points, granted. But bottom line is, this is Paul George and Russell Westbrook's team, and they showed it by this comeback win.
Mm-hmm.
And does this...
Saturday was the first time in NBA history that two teams in the same night came from 25 or more points down and won.
Interesting.
The Clippers and the Thunder pulled it off. Never happened twice in one day in the NBA.
Wow. And just based off the stats and stuff, I need to ask you, do you think James Harden put too much on himself to try to get them into this win?
I mean, is that the question that we can ask every time they lose? Because Harden's always going to have like a bunch of numbers.
Mm-hmm. I know, but I was just saying 42 points to 1 assist. Not, I love the points. I love how he's playing, but maybe more than 1 assist.
He's a scorer. I don't know.
Yeah. Did you see when he barely got touched on the arm that foul and he went after the referee and got all mad?
I did not.
Well, I'll show you the video, but
I do know that Kenneth Faried has been a great addition to the Rockets since he signed with them after being bought out. He's averaging like 15 and 10 a night, which is pretty good.
Mm-hmm. I just let's see if I can find this. If I can find this, I'll show you. But he was like getting all up. He was in the running, not running to go back to defense, but he was getting in the face of the referee instead of going on defense. And I thought, of all the things to complain about, you have gotten away with more than I could count.
Yeah.
So that's all I have to say about that for the matter.
He's really good at drawing fouls. I will give him credit for that.
I believe his free throws are in like the 800 attempts.
Yeah.
And like and the average right now for players would be like, I would say, in the 600s.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those, wow, he knows how to get on the line. And, fair to him. If he can get on the line, get those free throws, get those points.
Oh, yeah, he's really good at manipulating defenses. That's for sure. The Thunder are inching closer to that number 2 seed. They're right now 1 game behind Denver for number 2 in the Western Conference. So maybe they'll be able to jump Denver, considering Denver's been at the top for most of the season. But the Nuggets are on a 3-game losing streak, and the Thunder are now on a 3-game winning streak. The Thunder are 9-1 in their last 10. So they're playing very good basketball, especially on this winning streak. And Denver could be looking at giving up one of the top 2 seeds in the West.
Yeah. And honestly, if Paul George gets MVP, I'd be like, yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. And it's over Harden, it would make sense to me. But it seems like it's going to go to Harden. But
I would say
Paul George is making a case.
Is in the top 4.
Who would you put ahead of him?
Well, probably Giannis is 1 or 2 right now. Giannis and Harden, and then probably Kawhi is up there as well.
I might put George ahead of Leonard right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because George is having one hell of a season.
No, he is. Absolutely is. But, yeah, if I had to guess what they would vote right now.
I see what you're saying. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But, man, I think
Jokic should be in there in that conversation, too. That guy is just an insane
I would also,
player.
but these other guys are just doing even so much great things. It's so hard. I would put him my number 5, but there's been so many other great performances by other talented. I'm not saying he's not talented. He's unbelievable, no doubt about it. But there's so many other guys. There's 4 other guys, in my opinion, that are doing so much better. And it's not his fault. It's just those guys are just doing that much better. That's how good they're doing. Harden's doing stuff no one's ever done before. Giannis is a freak for a reason. Kawhi Leonard is leading that Raptors team to one of their best seasons they've ever had. And Paul George is revitalizing his career right now. He's good. He's a huge commodity right now. And
Jokic is doing something that's I don't really remember that's been done before by
absolutely
being able to run the offense through your center.
Yes,
leading the team in assists.
And taking a team that's not even supposed to be near the top 5 in the West to the number 2 seed is absolutely impressive.
I believe he leads the Nuggets in every category. Rebounds, assists, points, blocks.
He's just he's a monster.
Mm-hmm.
And is there really someone else that can lead in those other categories? I don't really. He's the guy. He's like a LeBron over there.
Yeah, he's basically a LeBron James type of player where he's able to do a lot. Now their games are different, obviously, but he's taller. He's not as fast, but he's super athletic for his size, and he's really, really good with the basketball. The man holds the ball like a point guard. He handles the ball as well as anybody. So it's fun to watch him play. I know he doesn't get a lot of he doesn't get a lot of talk like some of the other big guys like Harden, Paul George.
He's just not a big name at the moment compared to them.
Right.
That's the thing, and I think he will get there eventually.
Most people don't even know what he looks like. I mean, honestly, if you saw him on a promo, you'd be like,
do you also think it's the Denver market?
Yeah, it has a little bit to do with it. He's just not a.
He did kind of come out of nowhere too.
The Greek Freak is somebody who is not as big of a household name as he should be and will be at some point, and a lot of that has to do with Milwaukee. But no, Jokic is just not. He's not tremendously expressive.
I also think he kind of came out of nowhere this season, didn't you? Don't you think so? I don't think anyone expected this.
He's always been a top guy.
But he's
a guy they traded a lot for.
I know that, and he's just got to another level this season, in my opinion. He excelled, and that's great on him.
He's been great.
Yeah.
Wes Matthews signed with the Indiana Pacers. He signed with the Pacers because he was promised a starting role.
Okay.
He'll take over Oladipo's spot, looks like, as a 2 guard.
Obviously, I don't think he can live up to Oladipo's play, but he's still he was a pretty good asset.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I don't have any issue with it. Do you?
Nope.
UFC, and they play Charlotte tonight. I'm not sure if he'll play or not.
UFC 234 was a disappointment because Robert Whittaker dropped out of the fight after suffering a hernia injury the day of the fight. So Kevin Gastelum was scheduled to fight. That fight was completely scrapped because of how late a notice it was. So the Anderson Silva-Israel Adesanya fight was moved up to the main event. And Anderson Silva lost.
Unanimous decision.
He got beat for sure.
Yeah, and this seems like it's the end for him.
Yeah, I mean, he lost to one of the best fighters in the weight class for sure, but
he was also like emotional at the press conference and all that stuff. So it just seemed like this was the end for him, and he knew it.
Silva's definitely. I mean, watching the fight, he's still a savvy fighter, but his physical prowess is definitely not there anymore. Like, he's not as quick. He's not as.
Do you think it's because of the injury, the leg break? Against,
I mean, that has something
Weidman?
to do with it, but I think him being like 42 years old probably has a little bit more to do with it.
He just didn't seem like he was slowing down, and then that injury happened. And of course, age is also a big factor. But
that was also that injury was a long time ago too. So it's at that time he was closer to his prime.
Granted, but I think it is. He's still going to go down as one of the greatest fighters of all time. I don't think there's no doubt about that. But it seems like at the moment, right?
He's an absolute legend. He's arguably the greatest UFC fighter of all time.
Granted, and then people are going to use the drug test failures as an excuse, but that's what most are going to say. Most like biased people are going to say, but.
Yeah, I don't know. UFC, I don't really think they talk about that stuff as much as they do in like baseball or other.
I still think there's going to be some people. That's why I didn't say everybody.
Because like in the UFC, like they're all using some stuff. It just depends like what is banned or what's not at that moment in time.
True, and also it's time for Silva to hang it up. I don't think he has anything else to prove.
It's been almost 6 years since he broke his leg.
Has it really been that long?
2013.
Why does it feel like it's been so much sooner than that? Doesn't it feel like it was a little not too long ago?
To be honest, my life was completely different then. I definitely knew that it's been a while.
Well, I was not even in college yet. Wow. Tough to think about. That was my senior year, roughly.
It's pretty bad.
Wow. I can't believe it was that long ago. Anyways, it doesn't feel like that long ago to me. But maybe I guess everyone's different in their own ways when it comes to that kind of things. But anything else you want to add on this show before we call it a day?
Yeah. So Phil Mickelson was on the verge of winning at Pebble Beach, but due to weather, it delayed a lot of the day's action, and it pushed him to. Or pushed the tournament to be pushed until today because of the light. It got dark because of there was a hailstorm during the tournament. A couple other things weather-wise happened.
Honestly, if any weather effects could affect golf, hail will be the one, because hail is going to hit that ball and definitely going to not make it go as far, in my opinion. But regardless. I hope this doesn't affect his actual play, because he was playing very well up until that point. So if he starts to lose momentum or something like that, or he gets cold, there's going to be some serious controversies revolving around that. But he should be able to. He still is ahead by a few strokes, so I think he should be able to be fine.
He's got 2 holes left.
Yeah, so he should be fine, but a lot can happen in 2 holes. Yeah. Okay. So that's our show.
Tony Romo had an incredible shot
on the pavement, right?
Yeah, it was like from the tent.
How the heck did you that dude's better retired than anything else. Like, his life is probably so much better than it ever has been at the moment. He's a lot more liked, for sure. Unfortunately, like, I always liked him. I always thought he wasn't a very hateable guy, in my opinion, but I understood why people didn't like him because of the facts, like, of his play on the field. But man, off the field, he's great. Commentary, golf, like, the guy is on a whole nother level at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything is kind of going his way.
Good for him. Hopefully it stays that way.
Yep.
But anything else you want to add?
That's it.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Please tune in tomorrow. We'll have some more info about basketball. Hopefully maybe baseball stuff will actually happen. Who knows? But as always, I'm Jeff Malinoff. That's Mark Souza. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.